Okay, we're just waiting for Blake to come on. We're going to be reviewing one of the games that he played just now. Okay. Okay, great. Let's see. Okay. Let's look through the game really quickly first, just to see what generally happened, and then we'll go backwards. Okay. Yeah. Good. Good. Yeah. Okay. So go forward again. I will give you sub-host so you can move around the pieces. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so this is a good start. You see you open up the bishop, so you end up hitting that square. Good. So he has to defend against it. But then now you notice that this knight ends up blocking your bishop. So it's a bit concerning. Instead of that, do you see any other moves that you could play? Let's see. Okay. You can type right in chat. You can also move the pieces since you have sub-host. Hello everyone who just joined us. We're doing a game review. Don't forget. Yep. Throw me a snowball. Let me know you're there. How is everyone doing today? Oh, you notice that it says that you left the host position. Make sure you click on follow latest position to make that way you can see what's on my board. Yep, good. Yep. Okay, so what moves do you think there are for your position? There's more than one right answer. The move you played, this, since this is a handicap game, it's not like this move is gonna kill you or anything, but it does make your play a little bit harder since the bishop is blocked. Yeah, so move like this, that is one way of going, and then you can trade off the pawn in front of your rook. So the play might continue something like this. And you notice you threaten to promote your rook. You also threaten to take this pawn here. Yeah, are you familiar with the Shogi GRTNC? I'm not sure I'm supposed to pronounce that. Yeah, if he pulls this back, just promote your rook. Yeah. Yeah, one of the main differences between shogi and chess is that you can reuse the pieces that you capture, kind of like in Crazy House or Bug House, if you're familiar with those variants. And yeah, it does take some time to get used to the pieces, but after you do that, then it's almost like looking at regular chess pieces. So it only takes a couple hours usually. So hopefully that won't turn you off from learning it, because it's a very fun game. Okay, and if he blocks this way, you notice you can take this pawn. Yeah. So you stand much better here. Let's go back. And do you know why it's a good idea to exchange the pawns in front of the rook? Yeah. Okay. So let's say if this pawn were protected, let's say the silver were already up here and you couldn't take it, but uh, here, let me just make a position just so it makes some sense. Okay, let's say something like this, where you can no longer take this here. So you pull the rook back either to here. You could also pull it back here or here. Any of those squares would be totally fine. Probably here. But you notice that when the pawn was on this square, you notice it limits the mobility of this rook. So by exchanging the pawn like this, you see, you can now the rook's prospects are much rosier. In fact, there's no way for him to defend against moving the rook here and then taking this pawn next. Actually, there is. You'd have to do this, and then here, and then here. But the main thing is to get your rook into play. The second thing that is important is that you get a pawn in hand. That means that you can use it somewhere on this file, right? So that opens up a lot of different avenues of play for you. And then you notice that he had to drop his pawn here. And you notice this gold is defending against this rook promotion. So what that means is that this gold is forced to defend this square. So in a way, you kind of force it to have a defensive role. So you make his game kind of passive by doing this. So those are all reasons why you want to exchange off the pawn in front of the rook. Okay. So yeah, this move does make a lot of sense. Another thing you could do is push a pawn here. You notice that his right side and left sides are kind of weak. Since he doesn't have lances and knights, there's nothing to defend the left and the right sides. Do you see that? Should one try to castle in such a game? You know, strictly speaking, you don't need to, but in principle, yeah, you could. You could. But getting back to the weaknesses on the left and right side, do you see that they're weak? Blake, are you there? Yeah. Okay. So you threaten just to simply advance the pawn. Let's say you do something like this here. Now, if you advance the pawn immediately, this isn't going to work because of this, right? And the lance gets captured. Right. So instead of that, do you see a move that could increase the pressure on this right side? Yes, you could do this. And then after you get that in, because the bishop is also lending support to that square, you'd be able to capture the pawn if it's dropped there. But probably what he's going to do is try to harass this bishop. If you try to keep it on this diagonal and do this, he is probably going to push here and then chase this guy away. Not that it's bad for you, but he can kind of frustrate your plan. So one thing you can do you see a prep move that you could do in order to try to keep the bishop on that square? Or keep the bishop along this diagonal? Okay. What about this? That way you can do something like this, right? Like here or here. And that way he can't, if he can get the bishop to here while this pawn is over here, then he can't chase your bishop away from the diagonal. So let's say he does something like that. This time when he pushes it, you can move the bishop back here and then threaten to push here next. So instead of this king move, what he might try to do is push here again. And then what you could do is just revert to this plan. You notice this pawn is kind of overextended. It means that you're going to be able to capture it. He just doesn't have the force necessary to defend this thing. So if he tries to do something like this, for instance, takes pawn drop. You could do this and then threaten here. Just threaten to win a pawn. And then after you do that, you're able to do that plan again. You see? Okay. If he does this, well, let's say he does this first. Do you see a move that you could play? This would be a mistake. Can you find a way to win immediately? If here, I think the chance might escape. you might do this. I mean, this is still good for you, but I guess you're still gonna have to work a bit. Maybe a move like this would work. Threatening taking here next. And then this is going to be really weak. But then you notice you have this pawn in hand. So that means you can do this. Right? And then you threaten to take and promote next. So if he captures, then you take here, and then you have this fork, right? Yeah, make sure you come back to the latest position, yeah? Can you, wait, could you go back to, yeah, how do you prevent the fork? Here. Okay, but then you promote here. This token is huge. See, he's going to take the gold next. Right? And then you notice that this bishop is also still working. So if he retreats the gold like this, you can simply take here and threaten to take the silver. Any exchange is bad for him, right? Right. He only gets the unpromoted pawn back. So this is complete success for your side. So instead of that, he could move the gold here instead. And then now you could play a move like this, just threatening to take here. And if takes, you can take here. And now you notice that the bishop can stay on this diagonal. If he drops here, you can just retreat the bishop here and then play this next. So you end up breaking through on the side. Yes, this way and this way. So this pawn, it prevents the bishop from going up, but because you can't support it, it's gonna end up falling. Another thing that you could do is immediately push here. This also makes sense. If he doesn't do anything about it, you're simply going to take a pawn. So he's going to capture here, and then you capture this way. And then now your bishop, you notice it still stays on this diagonal. So in order to defend against this, he's probably going to sacrifice a pawn. And then you just take it here. And then you move the bishop back here. So he stopped you from pushing and breaking through immediately. But in return, what you have is you forced two of his generals to go away from his king. So that means that the king is weakened. And you've done this all with the bishop and the pawn. Can you see that this is good for your side? Okay. Let's say he does a move like this. Well, you see, you can just grab here and promote. Right, and then you can just grab stuff, right? So this is completely winning for you. Another thing, yeah, you could do this. That makes a lot of sense. Another thing you could do is advance this pawn, like here. Yeah, it does. This pawn move looks really, really good, as does this. You have many options. Let's say he does something like this. Next, you threaten to press here. Here. You can even get the knight into play, like that. Um, Here. And then you threaten to promote the pawn, right? And if he takes this way, what move can you play? There's actually more than one move. But yes, you fork like this. If he takes here, then check. And if he takes this way, you can simply take like this. Or you can also take with the rook. This is also a possibility. In any case, he's going to be busted. So you take here, and then this is a threat mate, right? Like here. So his king is completely denuded of defenders. Another possibility is something like this. But then he can do this. And then you can kill the silver like that. And then you threaten to break through next. So you see, once you have your pieces all in good places, it becomes much easier to attack. So when you're attacking, you want to try to get as many of these guys into play as possible. Then the final attack will flow more smoothly. And if nothing else, you can just take this pawn. Okay. So let's see what happened in the game. Okay. So he wanted to prevent you from jumping here and here. You notice that the head of the bishop and the knight are weak. Yes, but the thing about this move is as soon as he gets a pawn in hand, then he can dangle it. He can dangle it here. These might not be exploitable immediately, but those are weaknesses that you always have to keep in mind during the game. You see, if he gets a pawn in hand, what he's going to do is this and then drop. When he gets a pawn in hand, like this, and kill the knight. So in order to defend this, you see, you can always do something like this. Then you defend the head of the bishop and the head of the knight. Okay. Mm. Do you see another move you could play? Yeah, simply take the pawn. That way you not only win a pawn, but you keep this bishop's diagonal open. Okay. Because the next thing, now you notice you can't take it, and now the bishop's diagonal is closed. So it's not terminal though, because you eventually have moves like this, but simply taking the pawn was a lot easier. Okay, here, One thing that you could do is move the silver up here. That's to take care of the head of the bishop, and it's going to allow you to castle later on. Do you know which side, if you are going to castle, and it's not imperative that you do so in a handicap game like this, but which side of the board do you want your king? Would you say on the left or on the right side? It's usually away from the rook, so yeah, it would be closer to the left side. So you notice that this gold moves away from the direction that you'd want to move your king. So any potential fortress that you make is going to be a little bit weaker than usual. Let's say you do something like this. You notice that this gold can go here. Why away from the rook? Okay, the reason why is that you want to keep your king safe and away from where the area of battle is going to be. And a lot of times the rook ends up fighting like this. And because of there's exchanges around the area that leads that ends up leaving weaknesses behind. And in this right side area. So that's why you don't want your king there. You want to put the king on a safer flank. But still, this isn't bad. Okay, what should you play here? Yeah, just grab it. Right. Okay. Um, and now what should you play here? Is a really, really good move. Notice the bishop is being hemmed in by this silver and the pawn. Is there a way that you can get it into play? Um, okay. Mm, what's your idea? Is it to play something like this? This could possibly work, but there's a really simple way to get into play. It's by doing this, and then you can simply take here. There's no stopping the bishop from promoting. Okay, you notice that this promoted knight is now in the way of the bishop. Do you see a better square for the bishop? Um, yeah, you could play this. The only thing is, I'd be a little bit worried about stuff that might happen here. He could threaten to do things like this. So you don't want the bishop to become a target. So one of the things you could do is retreat the bishop here, and then you can go here or here, right? And then threaten to promote here or here. So you want to get the bishop so that it has really good mobility. The problem with this is it's no longer on this diagonal, and you remember that the head of the bishop is kind of weak. So this move is a good one. See, he just threatens to promote next. So it's kind of annoying. Okay, then he does this. Yeah, this is getting kind of scary. Okay, and then he promotes the pawn. Yeah, this isn't good. Yeah, this represents complete success for his side. So if you do something like this, then maybe everything stays intact. Because if he drops here again, what you could do is just pull the gold back, and then next you can kill off the silver like this. If he drops here, you can just move this aside, and then this will kill the silver. See? So it's important to, so this move is going to be kind of important, just to defend the head of the king. I mean the head of the bishop. Okay. Right now, you might as well take the silver. He's going to have to take it back, because if you take this way, you get 2 pieces for the bishop. So that's going to be good for you. And then you can get your rook into play like this. If he drops here, you can take here, and then just take here next. So this would be still good for your side. That's why he's going to have to take this way. And then now, what should you play? Yep. So again, if he takes here, you just grab the gold. If he drops here, what do you do? Yep. This is a desperado. Bishop is going to be trapped, so might as well sacrifice it. And now you have two pieces for the bishop again. So it's very good for your side. You threaten here. You also threaten things like, let's see. Yeah, probably taking the pawn is good. You also threaten things like that. So yeah, this is way better for you. So most likely he's going to do something like this. And then now you can simply kill the gold like this. If it takes here, then you take like that. So the bishop ends up giving it himself up for the, gives up his life very usefully. So most likely he's going to do something like here or here. If he does here, you can just escape, right? And you threaten here. So by playing active moves, the bishop ended up escaping. Either escaping or sacrificing itself for profit. So here, what he should have done was retreat the silver. And then you're left with this again. So you could go back into that variation like here. Okay. Yeah, this didn't do anything because you can just take it. Okay. But then, on the positive side, it does allow your rook to get into play. But it isn't as clear as those previous variations, though. So let's see. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Here, you should probably just do this, just to get the rook into play. This is still kind of unclear, or maybe kind of better for you. Not sure. Okay, well, he's going to have to do something about this silver first, right? Yeah, you could push the pawn, but you notice how many moves it takes? It's 1, 2. Whereas this move threatens to promote immediately. So moving the rook to the side would be a lot faster. And since you lost material, what you want to do is get your pieces into play as quickly as possible in order to make up for it. That's why this would be preferable to this. What would you have done if he did this? Okay. And he's probably going to take here. Yeah, this isn't as clear, isn't super clear. Maybe I think his side stands better. What he's going to do next is something like this. So it seems that he's ahead in the attacking race. So a move like this is a lot faster. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's getting kind of hard to defend your king. This does promote the rook, but the only thing is that notice right now the rook is defending along this uh, rank. So almost definitely something should be done to defend this. Defend it. What you might consider doing is this. If he takes here, then you throw on this check. You can promote with check. And then grab this. So you see it's safer for your king. Safer around your king area. If it promotes, then you take this way. And you notice this gold is still defending your king. If he takes this way, the token is going away from your king. So that makes your king safer. So what you could do is start attacking like this. If the guy runs here, you could do a move like this and then get rid of the token, making your king safer again. This is a very severe check. It attacks and defends at the same time. So if the king runs here, one thing you could do is simply take here. That should be good enough. Another thing, yeah, you threaten to do moves like this. Another thing you could do is promote here. I believe that should also win. If he does, let's say here, he's again moving the token away from your king, so it's safe. Then you take here. If this capture, then you can simply promote the bishop, and you're winning. If he takes here, you could do this. You're going to end up busting through here. So you should be winning here too. And if he drops upon here, you simply take it. And you notice the gold's pinned, so you can just attack it again by doing this. So this is very, very convincing. So it's vital to prevent him from getting an easy access to your king by capturing the gold. So this move is imperative. After this, you notice that since the rook's here, you no longer have this silver drop. So the position around your king becomes very critical. So there. And now he did this, which is okay. Another way that he could have finished things off is by taking here. His king is safe enough in order to, so that he can do this. Okay. So this is a threat mate. If he takes with the silver, what do you think he'll do next? Try to find a move for white. Yeah, you don't want to do a check. You want to close it in around his king. Actually, I like what he did more. This might be a little bit problematic. Yes. Okay, so the only way he can defend is by moving this up. Maybe you can do this. I believe that wins. If you, well, you might be able to nebari like this. It's the only thing. Yeah, this is nebari. Okay. Okay, this isn't as clear as I would want it. Here, is there anything else? Hey, hi. Hi, Chess Philosopher. Nice of you to join us. Do you play Shogi too? Okay. Yeah, so what he did was completely fine because he threatens to take here next. Yeah, yeah, and that doesn't stop this, and then mate. Okay, good, good. Did you have any questions about this game? Oh, good. Do you do Tsume Shogi sessions? Or do you do Tsume Shogi? I do a lot of Tsume Shogi sessions, and you are very welcome to join us. I also stream chess, a lot of blitz chess, sometimes Crazy House too. Okay, yeah, uh, yeah, you're very welcome. So let's recap what we learned today. Okay, so one thing we don't want to do is limit the mobility of the bishop. The next thing we learn is that the head of the head of the knights and the bishops are traditional weak points, and they might not show themselves up immediately, but those are things that you have to keep in mind later on because it can come up later on in the game, just like in this one. Okay. The other thing is we want to get all of our pieces into play. So a moves like this are kind of natural. Okay, and then let me ask you a question. What is it that's gained from exchanging the rook pawn? In this situation? There's three gains that the rook has after exchanging it. Can you tell me what they are? Okay, so what number one, it increases the mobility of the rook. A second, you get a pawn in hand, and the third, this gold is pinned to the defense of this pawn. Okay, so three things. Okay. And why do we want, let me ask you another question. Why do we want to move the king to the left side instead of the right side? Yes, a lot of the fighting is going to be around the rook. So yeah, we want to keep the king in a safer area. So that's usually toward the bishop, away from the rook. Okay. Okay, and here, a more specific question, why would we rather have the bishop here than here? GRTNC, thanks for the follow. Yeah, it keeps the bishop mobile, and the second, a very, very important reason is that we don't want this to become a target because of this move. Yeah. So by keeping it here, it gives it the options of this and this. So it has to do, again, with mobility and not creating static targets for the opponent. Okay, and then make sure that if the bishop's going to die anyway, you get something for it, right? You don't want to waste time by moving the bishop again. And you get this guy in. Okay. And why was this move fatal? I think that's going to be the final question of today. Yeah, it can't defend along this rank. Another reason is that you do not want to allow the opponent an easy yose. Are you familiar with the term yose? Well, let me type it to you in the Twitch chat so other people can see it too. Yose. Close. Yose. Do you know what that term means? Okay, a yose is when it's moves in the endgame that start getting access to the kings. So this, it's going to start getting toward your king. See? In this area. This is already here. So you do not want to allow the opponent an easy yose. A chess philosopher, thank you very much for the follow. Hope to see you around. Yeah. So by promoting this, it's an active move in a way, but it allows an easy yose. One of the things that one of my teachers told me, and it always stuck with me, is never allow easy yose. So we can do that by stopping the bishop from taking it. and doing this. So you should still win here. Okay. All right. I guess that's it for this game. Does any of the other viewers have questions? Any questions? Okay, if not, we can. That's it for this game. I want to thank all of the viewers for coming here today and participating in chat. If you found the stream educational and you liked it and wish to support it, you can reach me at alexi2539@gmail.com. I'm always happy to also hear your comments and suggestions. If you haven't already, please register your Twitch account and give me a follow. We do a lot of sume shogi sessions, and you guys are always welcome to join us. If you are following my channel, I usually post up when I'm going to do stuff in the events. So thank you again, and take care. Goodbye.